What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. With BO7 being a Treyarch title, we all know Zombies is one of the core pillars of the game. It's not just a side mode, and for a lot of players, Zombies is the reason they purchase Call of Duty every single year. But if we're being honest, ever since BO4, Zombies hasn't always felt like it was at its best, or even like it was the main focus for Activision and Call of Duty as a whole. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been some good moments. The launch of Cold War Zombies was a big one, and for a brief period, it felt like everyone was giving Zombies a shot again. We even had people like David Dobrik randomly streaming Zombies, which at the time felt surreal. It brought a ton of new eyes to the mode and gave the community some real momentum. But unfortunately, when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, those positives feel outweighed by a lot of the questionable decisions they've made for these last couple zombie games. Things like Outbreak launching without a round based map, Vanguard Zombies as a whole, and even the Tomb in BO6. All of that chipped away at what made zombies special in the first place. Now, I will say this. BO6 Zombies was absolutely a step up from Cold War, and in my opinion, it did a lot of things right from a gameplay standpoint, and you could tell Treyarch was trying to do some course correction. However, even with those improvements, the mode still felt like it was missing something. From both a gameplay and story perspective, Zombies didn't have that distinct charm or personality that longtime fans associate with the mode. That Zombies magic just wasn't fully there. And a big part of that comes down to things like the generic HUD and the constant forcing of Warzone style mechanics into zombies. Those type of issues with the mode definitely deserve some blame, but I honestly think the biggest issue goes deeper than visuals or UI. I think a huge portion of the problem comes down to one major gameplay design decision that was introduced back in BO4, and that's the ability to choose your starting weapon. I'll try to keep this part brief since it's been talked about a lot, but it is important. If you're familiar with classic zombies, and especially World at War through BO3, you know that one of the defining features of the mode was starting with the terrible generic pistol in that respective COD. It wasn't exciting, it wasn't strong, but that was the entire point. On the surface, starting with a good weapon might seem like a quality of life improvement, but in reality, it completely changes how the game flows. Starting weak forces you to think about early round game and managing points, decide when to hit the box, carefully planning your perk purchases, earning Pack-a-Punch instead of rushing it, and actually feeling the power jump when you decide to get stronger and progress through the map. And that's really my key point here. And it's that slow, methodical progression is what made zombies so satisfying in the first place. Every perk, every weapon upgrade, and every wonder weapon felt earned. When you spawn in with a fully viable weapon, the entire early game struggle disappears. Progression becomes flattened, and the match turns into the upgrade this one gun instead of adapting to the map. Because of that, my expectations for BO7 Zombies were honestly pretty low. Although I don't hate modern zombies as a whole entirely, I didn't expect any drastic changes to the mode when going from BO6 to BO7, and I fully expected this issue to continue and for the mode to still feel like a watered down version of itself. But surprisingly, with the introduction of Curse Mode, it has completely changed that. Not only does it fix one of the modern zombies' biggest problems, but it actually brings the mode one step closer to what zombies is supposed to feel like. The gameplay you're seeing right now is actually me playing Ashes on Cursed, and while there are a lot of great additions, such as the increased difficulty and the relic hunting system, there's one change that has the biggest impact for me personally, and that's how weak you feel at the start of the match. I've only played a handful of Curse matches so far, but I've noticed this difference almost immediately in my very first game. From the moment the match started, I felt vulnerable again. I wasn't overpowered, I wasn't cruising through early rounds, and I actually had to think. For the first time in years, I found myself making decisions that I never once considered during Cold War Zombies or BO6 Zombies. Questions such as, what weapons do I want to use long term? When should I pack a punch? Is it worth hitting the box early? Or do I prioritize my perks or upgrading my weapon? In modern zombies, spawning in with your preferred loadout weapon meant progression revolved entirely around upgrading that single gun. Everything else became secondary. But in BO7 Curse, it has felt way more like classic zombies and similar to how I felt while playing BO3 Zombies. I actually had to plan ahead, adapt to what the game gave me, and actually earn the ability to become stronger. For example, on Ashes, getting a strong Pack-a-Punch weapon by round 8 is critical if you want to take down the Uber Klaus early. That kind of pressure and planning just doesn't exist in standard modern zombies, and that's why exactly Curse Mode feels so refreshing for me. To me, Curse Mode proves something really important, and that's modern zombie doesn't need more systems. It simply just needs better fundamentals, and specifically, better fundamentals that we've had in previous COD Zombies games. By simply forcing players to start weak, Treyarch has reminded us, and honestly reminded me, why Zombies was so addicting in the first place. Progression matters, decisions matters, and that struggle you feel in the early game matters a lot. I honestly believe if BO7 continues to build on this philosophy, whether through curse mode or even applying these ideas to core zombies, I genuinely think we could be entering a new golden era for the mode. Maybe not in BO7, but in future COD Zombies titles. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. Have you guys played curse mode yet? Do you agree that the starting weapon hurts zombies, or do you prefer the modern loadouts they've added to Cold War and BO6? And even Vanguard, I guess, had it too. I know it's good for camo grinding, but I do think for the mode as a whole, and just playing zombies regularly, it is worse overall. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.